Well, let's get back to some of the other aspects of the play. I think in this play, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first one with alternate scenes, or
Yeah, yeah, and
okay? And then the next one also has alternate scenes that we're going to speak about. But the alternate scenes I mentioned in the last one, how they're sort of one is more for levity and the other one is more serious. The scenes with rock music versus the scenes with, say, the Marissa reading the Vincetti brothers and
yeah,
what she gets out of it.
well, that's sort of the dramatic theatrical version of my Siamese reflection, in that I'm trying to give ways to go. If you use the main versions that are all with three copyrighted materials, songs, you'll get one thing. If you use the non-copyrighted materials, you'll get another thing. If you had access to all of them, you could again switch up and get many different things, and you could get different tenors. You could play with the balance between drama and comedy. Excuse me, from uh, going back and forth with it, and that's one of the reasons I say that in any performance you have to. Let's say you had access to all of that, both the copyrighted and non-copyrighted stuff. You have to make a choice. It's one or the other. And you don't have to go all copyright or all non-copyright. You can go copyright, non-copyright, copyright, or copyright, non-copyright, non-copyright, whatever. And the directors and the actors can play with that there. And all of my plays are like that. This is one of the things I think that's so really great about most of my plays, is that I don't have large sets. I don't have, very rarely is someone specifically said, must be walking around with, an alien mask, as in one of my earlier plays. Most of the time, the people could be wearing whatever they want to wear. If the scene is set in the 70s and the director says, if you have some bell-bottom jeans or an old jeans jacket or an old, Led Zeppelin shirt or something, that'll get the mood that they're in the 70s. And so that gives a lot of leeway to it, and again, it goes back to my war with the idea that copyright takes away from the public domain. And in the when we did the interview a couple of weeks ago that I screwed up, uh, the idea that you can sort of secret away all these great works and prevent them from being used is just, to me, a terrible waste of human intellectual resource. Original. That's this. The copyright laws that we have now are not doing what copyright was intended to do, which was to protect the economic and intellectual rights of the creator alone, not the creator's heirs, not as a work for hire for some corporation, and not for someone who buys some rights and have it in perpetuity. Now a corporate work is like protected for 95 years. So I think Mickey Mouse, who debuted in 1926 or 27, is protected, I think, probably for some reason he's gotten grandfathered in. I don't think Mickey Mouse comes into public domain
It's
till the
because there's
2030s.
a loophole where if they keep on modifying the work, they're able to extend it all over again. I don't know if it's the same length of time, but that was the case with James Joyce's grandson, where he
Yeah.
kept on adding forewords to it and intros and things like that to keep it out of the public domain.
And with Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny, though, they also are trying to claim that it's not just copyrighted character, but now that they are company
Corporate
trademarks.
logo.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so this is another way. And it's not that I think that Mickey Mouse is such a great character. Sherlock Holmes finally came into the public domain. But imagine, for example, and this is a geek nerd boy fantasy film. Imagine if Batman fell into the public domain after the original 56 years. He was created in 38 or 39. Mid 90s, Batman's in the public domain. James Bond was created in the early 50s, 54, 55, his first book. He would have come into the public domain by 2010. Now imagine if you had a trilogy of James Bond versus Batman. And you got someone who really was a director who was free to do this. And it wouldn't even have to be a goddamn studio that did it. Just some kid with decent, like some of these young directors that I've interviewed, that Michael Jason Allen. You get some 35, 40-year-old geek like that who loves this shit, and he could make a name for himself like that if he did, a good enough film like that. And again, not that Batman or James Bond or Mickey Mouse are these great characters, but it's what they represent and the lost opportunities to mix and match these things and make something new of it, something deeper. Because if you put Bond and Batman together, you might get something deeper than just nerd boy fantasy. It's probably not, but you could.